Tere hommikust! Good morning!
Morning!
Good morning! Thank you. My name is Saluveer. I'm the curator of the European Film Forum and the CEO of Storytek, which is Estonia's newest innovation hub, which brings together creativity, filmmaking, media, and technology.
My name is Karen Burns. I work as a business development director at an IT company. However, my background is in film and television. I helped start the Abu Dhabi Film Commission and worked in productions across the Middle East, which is why I'm helping Sten moderate today.
And we are a lovely pair, because we've worked in film, we've worked in technology, we've worked in innovation, and we're going to be your hosts for today.
Yeah, and welcoming you all here. I'm sure people will still carry on arriving. Regardless of that, we're just going to make introductions to the first session and then carry on to catch up with the timeline of today.
Before we get into the discussions, I will give a little bit of a context why we are here today. The title of the European Film Forum is Creativity, Technology, Diversity and Finance in Europe post-2020. And I think the discussions what we're going to have are going to be aligned around these topics. Of course, the most important thing is that the media program, Creative Europe Media, which has had its wonderful 7 years and supported European cinema, distribution and innovation, will go into its new term. And the discussions are ongoing. And we're really thankful for the European Commission, Martin, Majcek, and the whole teams of giving us the opportunity to host this wonderful event here today. Why this is important? We all actually, as industry members, have a say what's Europe film industry, creative industry and technology industry will be like for the next 7 years. So please participate in the discussions and give your voice, because everybody's voice matters. First of all, things are not what they used to be. The media program, with its last term, was initiated almost 7 years ago. And our life has changed, our society has changed, technology, creativity has changed tremendously. 7 years ago, we were just dabbling around our iPhones, and now we talk about like virtual reality, robotics, artificial reality, MR, XR, RR, many, many Rs. So the market structure itself is not the same anymore. The audiences are different. We talked about audience development, but now if we look at the numbers, then we have an unprecedented connectivity. So maybe we can talk about more accessing the audience or curating the audience. And as I said, somehow it seems that technology is racing ahead. It's faster and faster and faster. Every 24 months, there is a new technology, a new gadget that just provides another revolution in somewhere. And in the larger context, of course, the politics also have changed. We see that the world is a very turbulent place. There are things happening in East, things happening in the West, and I think the big question is, who do we want to be as Europeans here in the middle? What would European cinema say as a message to the world? So I think, as I wrote in the introduction for the conference, we can wait, or we can do about it. So let's start doing something today, together.
Today will be a host of keynotes interspersed with panels, and you will get chances to ask Q&As in the end of panels, and if there's not enough time to do so, there will be a long lunch break, and you can ask all of your questions then. We will cover quite a bit of ground, like Sten already mentioned, AR, VR. We'll dabble a bit in politics, philosophy, just to give a wide background.
And we'll also talk about a couple of bad children of European media, such as VR. Is it tech? Is it creativity? Where does it go in terms of support? I see some film foundation directors here in the hall today. Will you support VR, and from which measures? And we also talk actually about a case study of a very interesting television series about 90s, The Bank. But the whole point of there is that if people want high production value television, how can we support it within our industry?
And also please use the hashtag EFFT when you're taking pictures or tweeting or posting about today. And please note that we're recording all the sessions as well.
Couple of housekeeping rules. First important rule, ask questions. If you don't ask questions, there will be no results. We have a lunch break from 1 to 2. There is coffee and water outside, restrooms, and emergency exits there as well. Also today, there is a big robotics conference going on in this venue called Robotex. So please go and explore if you have time. Find your way back. We hope to see you here.
And I guess that's it. If you've got any questions regarding any housekeeping stuff, we're available throughout the day.
So, without the further ado, I have a great pleasure to welcome on stage Guillaume Klossa. Welcome, Guillaume.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I saw that some people were at the Polish party yesterday night, and some are not always come, but they are going. First of all, I want to say that I'm very happy as the special advisor to Vice President Ansip, who is Estonian, as you know, to open this European Film Conference. Last year, it was the beginning of a story, and this place is becoming a leading place to inspire decision makers and European regulation with regard to media and to film. So congratulations to the organizer. I think it's very much a philosophy of what we need for Europe. Young people who have strong belief and who want to be game changer. And it's exactly what we need for this continent and for the future. I'd like to share some reflection. First of all, we spoke about the shift of the last year. But we are only at the beginning of a much more radical shift. And if I had to compare, I would say the only similar period I have in mind is the Renaissance, where in 20, 30 years, we have a big geopolitical and economic rebalance between, at the time, the East and the West. We had some industrial revolution and some existential crisis. And we are exactly in that kind of period. Rapid political and economic rebalance between the West and the East. Many industrial revolutions, such as digital, but don't forget neurosciences, advanced manufacturing, many things are happening. We are talking about robotics this morning also. And there are some existential questioning with regard to humankind, transhumanism, artificial intelligence, everything changed the game. It creates fears and opportunities. And as far we are, for me, in a new period of Renaissance, creativity is at the heart. And if you remember, at the time of Renaissance, artists, technologists, thinkers were working together. And it's exactly what we need for our continent, and we need it now. Most industries are upset. Our industry is upset also. It's content creation, content distribution, knowledge and engagement with the audience, it's marketing, everything is changing very quickly. And we have to take the lead and to see how we can take advantage of new market and new perspective for our European cinema. And we need to deliver a European message. It's very important. What is the European message for the future? So in such a period, I think citizens need us to understand the world in which we are, to keep the link with the roots, to anticipate the future, and to develop and share emotions together. And in this respect, for me, the European cinema and audiovisual industry has a specific role to keep together citizens and to contribute to society's education. The EU is completely aware that more than ever we need a vibrant, diverse, independent, creative film industry. And this is not only an economic issue. It's not only a matter of business model, it's a matter of democratic and cultural DNA. Democracy is at the heart because creation was at the heart of democracy in Europe. Creation was really at the heart of diversity in Europe. And Martin is going to complement and to explain the perspective we have, and we want to invest more. We want to have more impact at the level of the European Union for the media and for the creative and for the film industry. Now, I'd like to ask your help. Andrus Ansip, the Vice President of the European Commission, has asked me to prepare strategic and political recommendations on how to leverage key enabling, key digital technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data, neuroscience for the media sector at large. And when I speak about the media sector, it is not only audiovisual, it's news media, it's game, it's social platform, it's social media, it's digital platform. And the question for us is how to develop, to sustain for the future, a sustainable, pluralistic, diverse media ecosystem in Europe for democracy, for society, for economic leadership. So I would be very happy to have your contribution. I am in a listening phase, and I am organizing hearings in Europe and meeting people in order to prepare this recommendation by next spring. So the timeline is very short. And one question is, what are the key enablers in terms of education, in terms of regulation, policies, funding, competition, to prepare this next step of the European media ecosystem? Of course, it's a matter of business models, but not only. It's a matter of vision. What kind of society do we want? And behind the kind of society we want, and if we are able to precise it, we will be able to say what kind of media ecosystem we want. But the two things are linked. Vision for society, vision for media. They go together. And it's also a matter of values and ethics. How do we apply our values, our DNA, in terms of universality, in terms of innovation, in terms of diversity, in terms of pluralism, with regard to this technology, and particularly to artificial intelligence, which is a question of the time. Artificial intelligence, artificial reality, what DNA, what ethics Europe needs to apply? We are working on it, and we will have some recommendation before the end of this year. Now, to conclude, I like to share some conviction. We need to reinforce interdisciplinarity much more. Artists, writers, producers, sociologists, scientists, technologists, data specialists need to work and cooperate together much more. We really need to create ecosystem in this perspective. They can be public-private, but we need to speed up. Second, technological innovation are transversal. One innovation in artificial intelligence, in defense or health, can apply very easily in the media ecosystem. One innovation in the media ecosystem can apply very easily in defense, security, and health. So we need to think transversally. It's a key issue because it's also an issue in terms of critical size. If you look at China or Russia or the US, of course, there are many more transfers between the different industries, and it's a key success factor. It's not the case enough in Europe. Third, we need moonshot projects. European citizens need to have moonshot projects. So what kind of moonshot project we could have for the film industry and for the media industry? It's a question for you, but I would be very happy to have your answer. And if we want to be leaders, leaders is not only economic leader, but leaders in terms of inspiration, in terms of creativity, in terms of sense. If we want to be meaningful, we need to break silos and to develop cooperation in a sector which is or has been too long considered as a place for individualism. We need to recreate a much stronger collective mindset. And let me share my last conviction. Human creation will remain at the heart of the movies and at the heart of the creative DNA of Europe. We have not to fear technologies. We have to leverage them in our interest and in the interest of our citizens. Thank you very much. Can I call my colleague Martin Dawson, because I'm sure you want to hear how we see the future of the European support to the media and film industry. Martin?
Thank you very much, Guillaume. Thank you. Sten, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. As Guillaume mentioned, the European Film Forum here in Tallinn has a deserved reputation for being very influential and very distinctive, bringing creativity and tech together. And for me personally, it's the first time I come here to see for myself, so I'm looking forward to a great day. So the discussion today, the topic, the overarching theme, is how to sustain our European diversity, our cultural diversity. And the European approach to audiovisual, to film, to TV, and whatever comes next, has always been founded on this recognition of the dual nature of audiovisual, the cultural expression and the economic good coming together in one. And at a time when the European project is being challenged, it's more important than ever, I think, to promote our cultural diversity and our values, as has been mentioned. At the same time, the industrial component, and here we are in a power station, so I think it's very appropriate to remember the industrial component, cinema is also an industry, is essential, as diversity cannot be sustainable without a competitive sector who can deliver. So again, these two things are not somehow alternatives, they are two sides of the same coin. And so the question that we want to look at with you together today is what is to be done, and in particular, what is to be done at European level, and how can the European Union best support industry as it adapts over the next 10 years. As you probably know, the Commission presented in May this year its proposal for the new Creative Europe programme for the period 2021-2027. So for us, this is an exciting time. We're in the middle of negotiations with the European Parliament and with the Member States in the Council. And I'd like to spend a few words explaining our proposal, what is our approach. So there has been a lot of evaluation, a lot of discussions with stakeholders, including through European Film Forum in Tallinn in previous years. And the message we have got is that the media programme as a whole has been successful. It has clear added value. It complements very well all the important work being done at national level by the national film funds in particular, because it focuses on the European aspect, the cross-border, the pan-European dimension. This is where media has a clear added value. So our approach has been to be more of an evolution rather than a revolution. So the media programme in the future will continue to foster competitiveness and to promote cultural diversity, hand in hand. It will continue to promote the audiovisual sector across the value chain, from training to development of new projects, to creation, including TV, to distribution of films across borders, so that European citizens can enjoy the full diversity, kind of access to the full diversity of European films. We will continue to support network of cinema theatres. Cinema is here to stay across Europe, as well as festivals like the one here today, and VOD platforms. So the whole range. It will be a comprehensive programme. However, to have more impact and to introduce some innovations, we will need a significantly increased budget. This is why the Commission has proposed to increase the budget for media by 30%, up to 1.1 billion euro. Now, 1.1 billion euro is a lot of money, sounds like a lot of money, but of course, we're talking about a 7-year period, and these will be difficult negotiations. A 30% increase, even from a relatively low starting point, is an ambitious proposal, but for the reasons I think that are clear, it's important to be ambitious at this time. The future media program will emphasize two things: audiences and collaboration. I think both have been mentioned already by previous speakers. First of all, audiences. Let us not forget that European markets for the last 100 years have been dominated by US productions. 2/3 of box office is captured by US productions. That's not a new thing, it's the elephant in the room, but let's remember that. We need to reach out to wider audiences. Europe is a production giant. Europe produces over 1,500 new films every year. And that is increasing, in fact, the numbers are increasing. So there is some kind of, we need to consider how we can close the gap between the films, between the productions, and the public, between audiences. And that is also online. We know, for example, that half of the films, half the European films that are released in cinemas make it to online. Whereas with the American films, 90% of the films that are released in theaters make it online. So we have to think carefully about how we can get films out there, visible and watched. So that was the first thing, audiences. Second thing, collaboration and networking. We know the global giants are providing competition which is fiercer than ever. And our European model is based on independent, small audiovisual companies. Therefore, it's much more important for them to come together and collaborate, to network, and to scale up in order to be able to compete with the global giants. And this is particularly important now when Vice President Ansip and the European Commission are putting forward the project of the digital single market, which will allow much more opportunities at the European level, as long as companies are ready to operate at such a scale. So this requires scaling up, and it also requires adapting to make the most of digital technology and the data that comes with that. So that's the second priority for, that's the second theme of the next media program, collaboration. And we have identified 4 clear priorities for support in order to achieve these objectives. The first is skills and talent, because the bedrock of our industry is creativity, and behind creativity there are people, creative people like you. And these skills need to constantly be updated in this ever-changing, fast-changing world. Secondly, quality content. In an era of abundance, there has never been more content available to people. Competition for attention is fiercer than ever, and therefore content really is king. And thirdly, cross-border distribution, which is the heart of media, helping films and content travel, helping it travel across Europe so it doesn't just stay at home. This is particularly important to attract audiences, in particular for the top European films. And last but not least, promotion. As I said, Europe is a production giant, but its films somehow are not always visible enough. They need to be more prominent. They need to be known about. People need to talk about European films. And in this respect, the program, the media program, will accompany the directive, the Audiovisual Media Services Directive, which was recently renewed and adopted just a few weeks ago, which sets new prominence requirements online. So all VOD platforms in Europe now will have to have at least 30% content, that's a quota, of European works. But more than that, it has to be combined with a prominence requirement so that content can be seen and known and discovered by Europeans. So let's just take a quick look. I'll run you through some of the ideas we have for concrete actions, because after all these introductions later today, we'll be going through some concrete ideas. So it's a mix of deepening existing actions and new ideas. So concerning training, as I said, we want to build on that. We're currently helping to train about 2,000 professionals a year. Let's double that, let's more than double that. Let's try and reach 5,000 professionals per year. We help develop works. Yesterday at the industry event, there was a lot of discussion about developing co-productions. We develop co-productions. We develop hundreds of productions per year. But on the basis of our experience, we know that we need to cater for different needs. For example, high-quality TV productions maybe need a different type of development support. Support to cinema networks. We have this Europa Cinemas Networks, which is one of the biggest successes of the media program. It currently covers 1,000 cinemas in 33 countries and helps reach an audience of 41 million. However, in particular in Central and Eastern Europe, we need to enlarge the network to cover, in particular, more medium-sized towns, so people have more access to European films in local cinemas. And then some innovative actions. We want to finance more new types of digital content, including virtual reality, mobile-first content, web series. We look forward to hearing some cool ideas today, as well as high-quality TV series, which I mentioned. Then, concerning distribution strategies, in the past we have tended to fund distribution territory by territory. What we want to develop now are real joined-up pan-European strategies which share materials such as subtitling, such as data, and other promotional material. And festivals, of course. When we come to promotion, festivals play an important role, and we want to increase the collaboration between festivals so they can pool their resources and help to achieve economies of scale. Audiovisual is a global industry. It's true that we are a European program focusing in particular on the European dimension, but we recognize we need to reach out more and offer structured promotion support so that European films can tap into potential markets in the world, notably US, China, and Latin America, because audiences outside of Europe, in fact, are a great potential. Right. And a few more ideas. Establish a network of VOD platforms, like the Europa Cinemas network, but for VOD platforms. There are hundreds of European VOD platforms, but often they are not well known, and often they are too small to have a big impact and to reach wide audiences. Again, we want to look at how to bring them together so they can pool their resources. One idea where cooperation between platforms could have added value is to pool resources to develop technology and software which can be used. They can keep their identity as platforms, but they can share interoperable technology. A directory of European films is now being promoted and will be deepened through the next program. This is an initiative of Commissioner Gabriel in collaboration with the European Audiovisual Observatory and VOD platforms who are participating. This aims to strengthen the accessibility and visibility of European films which are available online today. It will be the first tool of this type at European level, and it will give precious information about which titles are available on which service in each EU member state. This kind of overview simply does not exist today, and it will help producers and distributors see the market potential of films by seeing which films are made available where, on which VOD services. It will also help policymakers, for example, to monitor how the quota, the famous quota of 30% of European works online under the new directive is being met. Now, last but not least, gender balance. This is not a technological issue. This is a social issue. It's a cultural issue. We will have a stronger focus on gender balance. Equality between men and women is a fundamental EU value and a driver for creation of more diverse content. We are starting by monitoring women's participation in media. The results show that while the industry average is for 20% of films to be directed by women, in media-supported projects, development projects, 29% of directors were women. So while these results are relatively satisfactory, we recognize that more needs to be done, and we will deepen our cooperation with member states, Eurimage, and the European Audiovisual Observatory. Now, beyond audiovisual, beyond films, beyond television, as we have heard, the wider media landscape, at a time of increasing convergence, it is necessary to have a more holistic approach. Therefore, under Creative Europe, in fact, the main novelty is that we will include for the first time actions in the field of news media, and in particular actions supporting media pluralism, quality journalism, and media literacy. As you know, and as has been mentioned, this is at the heart of our democracy today, and the European Union is making its contribution to ensuring the sustainability of these sectors in the future. We don't have time to go into everything today, but finance, of course, remains fundamental. We will continue to help access to finance for small and medium companies through a new centralized instrument, which is in fact outside the Creative Europe framework, called InvestEU. Yes, take photographs of this complicated table. The main information there is 38 billion, which is quite a convincing number. But that's for a wide range of sectors, including culture and creativity, in particular audiovisual. Because support nowadays is not just about grants. It has to be also about market-driven financial instruments, working together with the financial sector. And the InvestEU will make an important contribution there. So, there are other elements of novelty there which we do not have time to discuss now in this opening presentation, but I'd like to conclude simply by saying that right in the middle of the negotiations with the European Parliament and the Council, where all of the member states are represented, and we need you. We need your support. We count on your support for maintaining and possibly even increasing the budget which is earmarked to media. So when you go home, please do explain why it is so important to support the media programme in the future. Thanks very much.